Testing, testing. Alright, so I don't have a script, and I don't have a particular topic. I just wanted to get on here and, I don't know, just talk a little bit. I'm kind of new to recording videos and stuff. I've done it a few times. I played at it for a little while over the past year. But I'm still not really comfortable talking, especially when I have a certain topic or something I gotta stick to. So, my last video was too muffled, I think. I don't know if everybody that hit the video watched the whole thing, because it was kind of muffled, a little irritating. But it was basically covering how the left sells tolerance and acceptance and diversity and stuff like that because it's convenient to their voter it's convenient to their political strategy. It's not so much that, well, it's not entirely that they're trying to orchestrate the propaganda that they're putting out. I think a lot of it is that these sentiments that they sort of purport are already there. It is, in a way, it is legitimately democratic. They are absorbing a voter base that's already there by broadcasting sentiments that these people will relate to. And it's a little bit cheap in the sense that it's basically marketing, but on the other hand, it is kind of legitimate to democracy, as it does kind of give those people representation. So it's part of our American system. It's not just it's not quite as much of a dichotomy of crooks and the opposite. I guess if you're a Republican, you have a better opinion of Republican politicians, and I do mostly too. But there is something to be said for that kind of just tapping into a voter base. And I don't know, honestly, if the older Democrats believe in the stuff that they're having to push these days, because it is borderline socialism, if not just socialism, actually. Well, there are certainly those among the Democratic Party and maybe some other parties too that do just out and say they're socialists, they're democratic socialists. As for the Democratic Party as a whole, I don't know. But I had a couple of things I wanted to talk about today. Also the last video mentioned something about survival of the fittest, natural selection, sort of a Darwinian take on the chaotic state of politics here in the West. I was gonna add to that today if I could. I've written about it. I haven't really showed people, but in the last video I said something about how when you let people, whether you think, like, right, for example, the right wing is perceived by most of us to be the party of sort of construction, building upon the nation we've already built to this point, economic revival, stuff like that, and that's great. But then there are people that really don't care and want to run this country different, and they have a completely different vision for this country down in society and up higher in politics. And the left kind of embraces more of that social welfare, security, safety, quality of life, just in the sense that, well, free stuff and everybody should get a piece. Also, restrictions on business and companies here, which, to be fair, capitalism has had a history of exploiting people, particularly poor people, and I know that that's sort of beneficial to the companies. But even the idea of collective ownership of businesses is not 100% off or stupid. I don't think it's a good thing right now. I don't think it's the right time for anything like that. I don't think at what the average person proposes, the average supporter of that idea. I don't think what they know about it or how they would do it would be, I think it would collapse. I think it would destroy this country. But there are some people, and it's like with any innovator or problem solver, they're in the minority of intelligent people on all sides of the spectrum, all parties. There are people out there who could figure out a way to satisfy that desire for collectiveness, social welfare, collective ownership. They could find a compromise between that and the growth of business. Now, I don't think it would be bad to explore options. I'm introducing myself. I'm just kind of telling you where I am on the spectrum. But that was just butting in there. I digress. Right now, the right is basically sticking to traditional business practices in the terms of economy and economic theory. They stick to the practices that have worked for a long time, and that's good. And somebody definitely should. We should never, all of us, millions of people together, have to, especially not have to, and be forced to go headfirst, just full speed into an exploratory way of business and governing and all that. We see that communism has failed. I think one of the things that makes communism fail is that, it wasn't a great system in its own right, but then every time there was a communist revolution, they were forced into it. And it's a bad system, and they had no option but to go along with it, and it didn't work out that great. But there are maybe other things we could do that would work, but we don't need a revolution. So I'm opposed to that because the revolution ethos kind of resides a lot more on the left, the communist version of it. Of course, let's see what was I going to say though. The Darwinian part of it was that if you kind of look in terms of evolution and natural selection, if you let a people do whatever it wants, the stronger, the more successful, the ones with better chances of success, the ones who are maybe endowed with better resources to begin with, that's genetic and material. Obviously, material, if you're born rich, you're going to have a significant advantage over other people. Genetic, if you're smarter, you're going to have an easier time getting what you need because you're a better problem solver, better strategist. And if you think of it like that, you think of a nation doing what the nation's people do on average. And it's kind of a regression to the mean. There's some of the good stuff from the good people, some of the bad stuff from the bad people. On average, it's somewhere in the middle. The way they choose to do things, the way they choose to operate in strategy, their operation, their businesses, their government, their public services, police, everything, healing the sick with medical laws and regulations, or if they opted for public health care. These decisions and the way they execute those decisions to do one thing or the other, or not do this as opposed to doing it a little more like that, that determines how they progress through history, and it determines how they stack up against other nations and other peoples with the way they do things, based on their endowments, we'll say, genetic and material. And you have to think about stuff like that. I think about this stuff because I like to learn and read and figure stuff out and write about it, but it was sort of catalyzed, this particular topic was catalyzed more much by the fact that I like strategy games, like Civilization. And I'm not even the best. And I know it sounds silly. It's just a game. It's a toy. It's not, though. There's something to it. You learn a little something from it. And if you're going to get into politics, especially if you're going to get out there and broadcast your thoughts, I think that you should play those games. It just gets you. There's a little bit of a macro picture that you can learn from playing it a little bit. It's not a perfect simulation, but video games were sort of pioneered with government strategic money for the purposes, I think it started with them wanting to make something like, back in the 80s or something, they wanted to make something like Call of Duty, and they were going to use it to train soldiers. Well, I mean, you look at that, if it has that kind of potential as a technology to train people and give people experience, imagine just all the fucking games we play, all the games people play today. If we directed that toward stuff we can learn from, we'd have millions and millions of people with experience. And I just think that things like civilizations and that kind of civilization builders, city builders, I think there's a lot to gain from people who have an interest in that stuff and are willing to learn all the details and how it works and get good at it, and then learn how it works in real life from there as much as you can, and try to make it real operators, real strategists in every facet of our society, military, economic, administration, dealing with multitudes of people, or any other statistics. And I'm not trying to reduce people to statistics, but when you do have to handle a ton of shit, you can't really know everybody's name, let alone understand them, have an emotional connection with them, unless you're just all around humanitarian. And that's something else I wanted to go into. People sort of look down on weak characters. There's, sympathetic, and there's empathy, and trying to care about everybody and all the problems, and people look down on it like it's weak. And on one hand, yeah, if you're wrapped up in all this other stuff that you can't necessarily do anything about immediately, you're not worrying about your own problems, you might suffer the disadvantage of not tending to your own business. And as an individual survival strategy, I'm not sure that that's what you want to do. And I think that has become an instinct in a lot of people, for good reason. They stuck to their own business. They worried about their own kids, their own money, their own job, and they don't necessarily care about everyone else. And then as a result, they're not the most charitable or empathetic, or not the ones you want to go to beg. And that has really influenced politics these days. And I think even though I'll lean a little more right, relative to our right and left, our country's right and left today, there's benefits to what both sides are saying. You should kind of protect your own stuff, take care of your own business. That's driving politics today. It's a sentiment that's really pushing home that capitalist ideology. Then again, it does matter what everybody's going through. It does matter what everybody feels, thinks. It does matter what everyone else has at their disposal. And there's a lot of circumstances you take into consideration. Which one should have it, which one shouldn't have it, and all that. That's fine. But that empathy, that notion of empathy, and caring about people, and charity, and welfare, that's a good thing, and we do need people to think about that. And I think that as that sort of protectivist, isolative, sort of just nepotistic sort of philosophy, just protect yourself, your own stuff, your own family, that's becoming sort of the facade of the right now, and that leaves the left to ultimately soak up a monopoly on empathy, and that's not good because a lot of people do care. They have feelings about other stuff in the world and other people, you know. And the left has basically soaked up the whole thing because the right, for the past at least several years, has been going completely the opposite direction in their broadcasting, in their not completely, but they don't pitch it. They haven't really abandoned the empathy and stuff, but they don't pitch it like they should. You see, the left has the pretty words to sell it, even though they're basically screwing so many fucking people. But the image, for the people that don't know, the ignorant people that don't know shit about it, especially, you know, the right doesn't market it. And so they're not soaking up those votes. And they're not soaking up that interest. Now, a lot of the callous sort of the abandon of everybody else's problems that the right is sort of embracing is, I think, a result partially of just the hardening of hearts as a result of sort of the bitterness of the situation, the political and social situation that we're living with right now and have been for a little while. And a lot of these people that have given up on that stuff are they've done so because they're hurt from it. They did care. They are good people. A lot of them are really talented, good people. And I think they should change their tune a little bit. I'm suggesting this to other creators out there, specifically, and people that want to get into the field of, you know, want to join the fray, the talk. I want to tell them because, frankly, I'm new, I'm not growing very much right now. I just want somebody should do it and understand. And the thing about good people, for those who think it's weak, or for those who don't, too, but especially people that look down on it and they're thinking it's weak and soft, and you're wrong. Good people are the people that care, the nice people, the ones that care so much. They are the ones that care about the problems in the first place. And that's righteous. And if you don't know what righteousness is, it's basically everything right, everything that should be for everyone's sake, for everything that matters to be affected positively. Every last thing, or as much as you can sort of facilitate in your heart and mind, it's a passion, a love for what is right. And if you can't do what's right, you can't have a civilization, because you're going to do everything wrong and it's going to crash. It's that simple, you know? And we think about our leaders and the prominent characters, the people that people follow. Are they good people? Are they smart people? Smarter you are, the more right you are. By extension, you should imagine that you'd be better, right? A better person. Better, smarter, more right, more righteous, right? And we need more of that. And our leaders must be right and righteous. And they must care. So we need more of these people to come up. We need people to go find them and make them better. And if they do have to, say, get it on their own, it might take slower, longer time. I'm fucking stoned. I'm sorry. It'll take longer for more people, millions of people, to get up to the position that they would be fit for, that we need the most fit people to handle. And so you get into, just call them out. We need to, but anyway, I'm going to pause it. I'm going to work this out. I forgot, kind of talked myself into a hole. I'm really stoned. What I was trying to get to was that you get into subsidizing people to come up, which is not really a capitalist thing. They shouldn't have to get it themselves if they're the right people. You'd have to give them education. You'd have to give them maybe a little leg up. Make sure they get a place where they can get a little experience, stuff like that. And that's getting into educational stuff, educational programs. If you were running the place, you'd want to find as many of those people as you could. And it basically takes a little bit of social welfare to get the most of them. And you probably get some of them that were like false readings. You get some of them that were maybe not great, but you thought they had talent, and you put a lot of resources into them, and then it wasted resources, like the capitalists would say. But anyway, the Democrats, I think, are a little bit more right on stuff like that, because if you do put the collective's resources into subsidizing certain facets of a society, you can get a lot of good results from it. Then again, the right is right about people having to sustain themselves if they can, because they should. It is more sustainable if you can earn your own. And that philosophy is kind of right in one sense, but then the other one is too. The left's philosophy is not completely wrong either. It's coming to a fight between the two, and that's not a good thing. We need to be finding out where the middle ground is, where either one of us is right. We should figure out how the other is right. The Democrats should listen to the Republicans, and vice versa. The people who disagree, just common people, if they can handle their tempers and not get personal, they should do it too. And I encourage as many people that can hear this, or to tell people, or I guess try it yourself. And if people do that, we would be seeing a whole different interaction between the parties and the people that support the parties in our countries. We would see more of a discussion, more progress in terms of more people trying to add to what they believe, add to what they know. If you're stuck in your little right-wing bubble, you're not going to see how the left is right when they are, because you don't want to. And the liberals, they're doing the same thing. That little bubble and that little echo chamber, it's because they're so bitter with each other that they don't want to entertain what each other has to say. Now, that's too prominent. It's happening too much. That's too much the mainstream that we see, at least that we see on TV, internet, because that's how it's being represented. We don't see a lot of good, and I think it's probably out there, but we don't see it. It's not being shown to us, and a lot of that has to do with creators, the people on TV, the politicians, the spokespeople for various movements, demographics, etc. And it's stupid. Both of us are right. Everybody's right twice a day or whatever. And this country, this civilization of ours, is losing ground and backsliding as a result of all this stupidity and wickedness, selfishness. What this country needs is a revival. And sort of a purge of some stuff. I feel like I've gotten off topic, but no, the point of this, like I said in the beginning, I wanted to just talk and just put it out there. And so, you know me. So you hear what I gotta say. I mean, a video's a video. That's what a video's about, right? Especially this kind of commentary. And I'm really stoned, and I'm kind of going from one subject to another. They're all connected. Like, I'm not just stone stupid. But this whole big picture that I've been looking at for a while in my head, I don't think I could say it in a video and keep it concise. So, yeah, I write it sometimes. And I might pull some of my writings up to do videos. But I'm trying to do a book or two, but even that's taking so long. But I just wanted people to hear it. And honestly, if there's any creators watching this, or if you know any creators, you want to point them my way, seriously, we got to change the conversation in this country. And we've got to, yeah. Because people hear the conversation and they follow it like it's direction. Now, you know, you pitch a bitter, miserable fucking story to people and a bitter, miserable message, they're going to get bitter and miserable, and they could lead to problems. And it goes for whether you're left or right or center or up or down or green or blue or red or whatever. So I feel like that's enough for today. I'm also disappointed that people think so negatively of God and Jesus these days, because it's sad to see, because Christianity is a good thing. God is good. Jesus, the Word of God, it's great. And the people that follow that stuff, they're better for it. And something that you don't realize, maybe, is that it has affected our gene pool. It has affected the gene pool of our kind. Because when you kill the fucked up people for generations and generations in a population, a gene pool, it has a completely different effect from when you kill good people. Because if you kill off what's right and what's good and what's better, even better than you, all you're left with is what's worse. You know? And I think that a main reason that the Word of God was here, and the law of God and His justice was here, was for that reason. And heaven, so that you know, I've said it before, heaven is space. It's the universe. And I don't know if I should have to put two and two together for you. Well, further, I do believe in God. I don't think God's an alien. But God, well, He's God, but there are those of the kingdom of heaven, heavenly creatures, and the Bible talks about them. The shit is real. The shit is real. And we need a revival. And honestly, anyone, anywhere, any country that wants it can have it. And God will be getting involved. And it will go how He says. Whether you believe it or not. But I hope you do. And I hope if you don't, that you watch and wait and see. But that's it for me. I had to squeeze in that little sermon. Because I ain't fucking playing with this movement bullshit. And if people are talking about war, then there's no one that can't be involved. There's no one that can just not be involved. So if it's war, it's going to be war, and I'm in it. And everyone else is too, whether they like it or not. There's nowhere you can run to not be on one side or the other. And I recommend you do the same. Just prepare yourself. But understand that murder and destruction, it's not the only way to get what you want, make what you want in this world. And frankly, it's bestial. It's primitive. If there's not a better way than that, I guess you all should kill yourselves or each other or whatever. It's survival of the fittest. Don't kill yourselves, but I mean, if you're gonna kill each other, I mean, you can have it. I'll be fighting to try and make things better. And I think that everyone else should try that too. And if we did, if enough people did, if everyone did, it could stop, it could avoid a civil war. Like what they're talking about right now. Talking about a civil fucking war. You want to fight a civil war? Anyway, I'm done. That's it. I'm out. I'll maybe do another one of these later. We'll see what happens with it. It's the moderate thinker. Name's Will. Comment, like, subscribe, all that.